Captain Jake Miller stared at the radar screen and frowned. The green blips showed something moving through space where nothing should be. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. The signals were still there. "Amy, come look at this," he called. To his navigator, Lieutenant Amy Foster walked over from her station on the bridge of the Terra Nova. She was a young woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Amy had been Jake's navigator for 2 years now, and she knew the ship's systems better than anyone. "What is it, Captain?" Amy asked, looking at the screen. Jake pointed at the strange readings. "These signals, they show up on our old radar, but look." He switched to the newer quantum sensors that most ships in the galaxy used. The screen went blank. Nothing on the quantum scanners. Amy checked the radar settings twice. The equipment was old, almost ancient by galactic standards. Most alien races had stopped using electromagnetic sensors centuries ago. They called human technology primitive and outdated. "Probably just space junk," Amy said. "Our radar picks up all kinds of things the new sensors ignore." Jake wasn't so sure. He had been flying ships for 15 years. Something felt wrong about these readings. The signals moved too fast and too purposeful to be debris. They had patterns, like ships flying in formation. The Terra Nova was heading home after a 3-month survey mission. They had been mapping star systems on the edge of human space, looking for planets that might support colonies. It was quiet work, but Jake liked it. No politics, no alien bureaucracy. Just him and his crew, exploring the unknown. His crew was small but good. Amy Foster handled navigation. Chief Engineer Ben Torres kept the engines running. Dr. Kate Wilson took care of medical duties and also served as their science officer. Communications Officer Dan Reed managed all their long-range transmissions. They were all humans, all experienced, and all tired of being treated like the galaxy's country cousins. The human race had joined the Galactic Council only 50 years ago. Earth was still considered a minor world on the outer rim. Most alien species looked down on human technology. They thought humans were slow to advance, stuck with old methods while the rest of the galaxy moved forward. Jake didn't mind the criticism. Human ships might be older designs, but they were reliable. When alien ships broke down because of some complex quantum malfunction, human vessels kept flying. There was something to be said for simple engineering that worked. "Captain," Dan Reed's voice came over the intercom. "We're getting a distress signal." Jake turned away from the radar screen, put it through. The message crackled with static, but the words were clear enough. "This is Research Station Alpha 7. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack." Unknown ships appeared from nowhere. Our defenses can't target them. They're invisible to all our sensors. Request immediate assistance. Amy's face went pale. Research Station Alpha 7 was only 6 hours away at full speed. It was a joint operation between humans and several alien species, studying ancient artifacts found in this sector. "Gone. Send our location to Council Fleet Command," Jake ordered. "Tell them we're responding to Alpha 7's distress call." "Yes, sir," Dan replied. Jake looked back at his radar screen. The mysterious signals were moving toward the research station. His stomach twisted as he realized what this might mean. "Amy, plot a course for Alpha 7. Best speed," he said. "Course plotted," Amy replied, her fingers dancing over the navigation controls. "Ben, give me everything the engines have," Jake called to engineering. "You got it, Captain," came Ben's voice from below. The Terra Nova turned toward the research station and accelerated. Jake watched the radar screen as they flew. The strange signals were getting closer to Alpha 7. Whatever was making those readings, it was heading straight for the station. For 3 hours, they received regular updates from Alpha 7. The Research station was under attack by ships. It couldn't be seen or detected. The station's weapons fired blindly into space, hitting nothing. Their quantum sensors, gravity detectors, and even psychic scanners used by telepathic species showed empty space where the attacks were coming from. Then the transmissions stopped. When the Terra Nova arrived at Alpha 7, they found wreckage. The research station had been torn apart by powerful weapons. Debris floated in space where hundreds of people had been working just hours before. Jake felt sick looking at the destruction. Scan for survivors. He ordered that Dr. Kate Wilson worked. The sensors from her station. I'm detecting some life pods, Captain. Looks like maybe 20 people made it out. Amy, bring us in to recover them. Jake said as they moved closer to the wreckage. Jake kept watching his radar. The strange signals were gone now, but he was sure they had been here. Whatever had attacked the station, his old radar had been tracking it. The rescue took 2 hours. They found 18 survivors in emergency pods scattered around the debris field. Most were in shock, barely able to explain what had happened. The stories were all the same. Ships had appeared from nowhere, fired devastating weapons, and vanished, without being detected. One survivor, a Zephyrian scientist named Commander Blue Wing, was more coherent than the others. The Zephyrians were bird-like creatures with excellent eyesight and natural talent for detecting energy patterns. I have never seen anything like it, Blue Wing told Jake in the medical bay. The ships fired on us, but our sensors showed nothing. It was as if we were being attacked by ghosts. Jake thought about his radar readings. Ghosts that only human technology could see. Did anyone get visual contact with the attackers? He asked. Blue Wing shook his head sadly. Nothing. Space appeared empty, even when their weapons were firing at us. The Council has been fighting these raiders for decades. We call them the Void Hunters because they come from nothing and return to nothing. That night, Jake sat alone on the bridge, reviewing the radar data. The patterns were clear to him now. The signals had moved like a fleet of warships approaching a target. They had surrounded the station, attacked from multiple angles, and then departed in formation. For the first time in 3 centuries of galactic warfare, someone had tracked the Void Hunters. And that someone was using technology the rest of the galaxy considered worthless junk. Jake smiled grimly as he set course. For Earth, Command needed to see this data. Everything was about to change. Dr. Lisa Park stared at the data on her computer screen for the 10th time that morning. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The readings from Captain Miller's ship showed clear electromagnetic signatures tracking the Void Hunter attack. On Research Station, Alpha-7. Lisa worked aboard the Research Station New Horizon, humanity's most advanced science vessel. She was a quantum physicist who specialized in dark matter research. For the past week, she had been studying the radar data that Captain Miller had sent to Earth Command. "This is impossible," she muttered, pushing her glasses up her nose. Her assistant, Dr. Mark Johnson, looked up from his own computer. Mark was younger than Lisa, fresh out of university with new ideas about physics. He had been excited to work with her on this project. "What's impossible?" Mark asked. Lisa turned her screen so he could see the data. "Look at these electromagnetic readings. They show ships moving through space during the exact time of the Void Hunter attack. But every other sensor type shows nothing." Mark studied the patterns. The electromagnetic signals were faint but clear. They moved in formation, approached the research station, and then dispersed after the attack. Maybe the human sensors are just picking up background radiation? No, Lisa shook her head. I've run every test I can think of. These signals are real. They're tracking actual objects moving through space. She pulled up another display, showing the sensor capabilities of different species. The Altarians used quantum field detectors. The Zephyrians had psychic sensing technology. The robotic synthetics used gravity wave scanners. Every advanced race in the galaxy had moved beyond electromagnetic sensors centuries ago. That's the strange part, Lisa continued. Human radar technology is considered primitive by galactic standards. But somehow it's detecting something that billion-credit sensor arrays can't see. Mark leaned back in his chair. What if that's exactly the point? What if the Void Hunters are using technology that's invisible to advanced sensors, but shows up on primitive ones? Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. She had been thinking the same thing, but hadn't wanted to say it out loud. You mean they're using something that only shows up on electromagnetic sensors? Think about it, Mark said, getting excited. Every species in the galaxy has evolved beyond using radio waves and electromagnetic detection. They all use quantum sensors, gravity detectors, or psychic scanners. What if the Void Hunters found a way to be invisible to all of that? Lisa began typing rapidly on her computer. She pulled up research files on dark matter theory. Dark matter made up most of the universe, but barely interacted with regular matter. Scientists could detect it only through its gravitational effects. What if they're using dark matter? She whispered. Mark's eyes widened. Dark matter ships would be invisible to almost every type of sensor. Quantum scanners look for particle interactions. Gravity detectors would only pick up the mass if it was huge. Psychic scanners read energy patterns from living minds or regular matter. But electromagnetic sensors, Lisa said, her voice growing stronger, might pick up the tiny interactions between dark matter and regular matter. The disturbances would be incredibly small, but they would exist. She started pulling up more data, comparing the electromagnetic readings with known dark matter research. The patterns matched theoretical models of how dark matter might disturb electromagnetic fields. We need to test this, Lisa said. If we're right, then humans are the only species in the galaxy who can track Void Hunter ships. She sent a message to Captain Miller, asking him to run more electromagnetic scans in areas where Void Hunter attacks had occurred. Then she contacted Dr. Sarah Kim, the chief science officer at Luna Base, to request access to Earth's largest electromagnetic sensor arrays. The response from Captain Miller came back within hours. His ship had detected more faint electromagnetic signatures in 3 different star systems. All were locations where Void Hunter attacks had happened in the past month. Dr. Kim's reply was even more exciting. The Luna Base sensors had been scanning space for decades, collecting data that nobody had bothered to analyze closely. When Kim ran the old recordings through new filters, looking for the patterns Lisa described, she found hundreds of faint electromagnetic signatures. Lisa, Dr. Kim said in a video call, if your theory is correct, we've been accidentally tracking Void Hunter movements for 20 years. We just didn't know what we were looking at. Lisa felt her heart racing. How many signatures are we talking? About? Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. These electromagnetic disturbances appear all over human space and beyond. If they're really dark matter ships, then there are way more of them than anyone realized. Mark had been listening to the conversation. Dr. Kim, are any of these signatures stationary? Like ships that aren't moving? Kim checked her data. Actually, yes. Quite a few show up in the same locations for weeks or months at a time. Why? Lisa understood what Mark was thinking. Derelict ships. If the Void Hunters have been operating for centuries, there must be abandoned or broken vessels drifting in space. Ships that nobody else can detect, Mark added, but that we can find with electromagnetic sensors. Dr. Kim pulled up a star chart showing the stationary electromagnetic signatures. There were dozens of them scattered throughout known space. Some of these have been in the same location for years. Lisa made a decision that would change everything. Dr. Kim, I need you to contact Admiral Stevens at Fleet Command. Tell him we found a way to track Void Hunter ships, and we think there are derelict vessels out there waiting to be recovered. Are you sure about this? Kim asked. If we're wrong, we'll look like fools. And if we're right, Lisa replied, humanity just became the most important species in the galaxy. Within 6 hours, Lisa received a call from Admiral Roger Stevens himself. The Admiral was a serious man who had spent his career dealing with alien politics and military threats. He listened carefully as Lisa explained her theory about dark matter ships and electromagnetic detection. Dr. Park, the Admiral said when she finished, you're telling me that our old radar technology can see ships that the most advanced sensors in the galaxy can't detect? Yes, sir. And we think there are hundreds of these ships out there, including many that appear to be derelict or abandoned. Admiral Stevens was quiet for a long moment. Doctor, if you're correct, this changes everything. We've gone from being the least advanced members of the Galactic Council to potentially being the only ones who can fight the Void Hunters effectively. Lisa nodded. There's more, sir. If we can detect their ships, we might be able to study their technology. We could learn how to build dark matter vessels ourselves. I'm authorizing a full investigation, Admiral Stevens said. I want you to work with Captain Miller and our best engineers. Find me proof that these electromagnetic signatures are really Void Hunter ships. After the call ended, Lisa sat back in her chair. Mark was grinning at her from across the lab. Think we just started a revolution? He asked. Lisa looked at the data on her screen showing electromagnetic signatures scattered across the galaxy. Each one might be a ship invisible to everyone except humans. I think we just gave humanity a chance to level the playing field. She began composing a message to Captain Miller. They had work to do, and the galaxy was about to discover that sometimes the old ways were better than the new ways. The hunt for dark matter ships was about to begin. Captain Jake Miller watched the modified electromagnetic sensors sweep across empty space. 3 weeks had passed since Dr. Park's discovery, and his ship Terra Nova now carried the most advanced electromagnetic detection array ever built by humans. The irony wasn't lost on him that the galaxy's most primitive technology had become its most valuable. Anything yet? Asked engineer Beth Clark from the sensor station. Beth was new to Jake's crew, specially assigned by Fleet Command for this mission. She was young but brilliant, with red hair and the kind of stubborn personality that made her perfect for solving impossible problems. Her job was to fine-tune the electromagnetic sensors and help recover any dark matter technology they found. Still scanning, Beth replied, adjusting the controls. Dr. Park said the signatures would be faint. We might need to search for hours before we find anything. Dr. Alan White looked up from his research station. Alan was a xenobiologist who studied alien life forms, but Command had sent him along to analyze any technology they recovered. He was a tall, thin man with gray hair who seemed to know something about everything. The theoretical readings suggest we should look for patterns, Alan said. Dark matter ships might cluster together, especially if they're derelict. Ships often get damaged in the same battles. Jake nodded and continued piloting the Terra Nova through the Kepler system. This area had seen several Void Hunter attacks over the past year. If Dr. Park was right about electromagnetic signatures showing old battle sites, this would be a good place to start looking. They had been searching for 6 hours when Beth suddenly sat up straight. Captain, I'm getting something. Very faint, but definitely artificial. Jake moved to look at her screen. The electromagnetic reading showed a weak but steady signal about 2 million kilometers away near the asteroid belt. Just one ship? Jake asked. Beth fine-tuned the sensors. No, wait. There are more signals. A lot more. Her voice grew excited. Captain, I'm reading dozens of electromagnetic signatures in that area. Maybe more. Alan joined them at the sensor station. That many ships in one location suggests a shipyard or fleet anchorage. Somewhere the Void Hunters gathered their vessels. Jake felt his pulse quicken. A Void Hunter shipyard would be the discovery of the century. Amy, set course for those coordinates. Nice and slow. We don't know what we're heading into. Lieutenant. Amy Foster input the navigation commands. Course laid in, Captain. We'll reach the target area in 2 hours at current speed. As they approached the asteroid belt, the electromagnetic readings grew stronger. Beth counted over 50 individual signatures, all stationary relative to each other. Some were large, some were small, but they formed a clear pattern of artificial structures. My God, Beth whispered, staring at her instruments. It's huge. Whatever's out there, it's massive. When they reached the coordinates, Jake ordered a full stop. Through the view screen, space looked completely empty. The asteroids drifted in their ancient patterns, showing no signs of anything unusual. But the electromagnetic sensors painted a different picture entirely. Beth, show me what the sensors are detecting. Jake said. Beth transferred her readings to the main screen. Suddenly, the empty space filled with wireframe outlines, showing the electromagnetic signatures. Jake's jaw dropped. Floating among the asteroids was a vast shipyard complex with dozens of dark matter vessels in various stages of construction. It's like a ghost fleet. Amy breathed. Dr. White was studying the sensor data carefully. These readings show different types of signatures. Some are very faint, probably incomplete ships. But these 3 here, he pointed to larger signatures. These show full electromagnetic profiles, complete vessels. Jake made a decision that would change human history. Beth, Amy, prep a shuttle. We're going aboard one of those ships. Sir, Amy said nervously, we don't know if they're safe. There could be Void Hunters still on those vessels. The electromagnetic readings show no active power sources, Beth reported. These ships have been dead for a long time, probably years. They chose the largest of the 3 complete vessels for their first boarding attempt. Jake led the team himself, along with Beth and Dr. White. They wore full spacesuits and carried portable electromagnetic scanners to help them navigate once they were inside the dark matter ship. Finding the ship was the hardest part. Even knowing exactly where it was from the sensors, they had to use electromagnetic scanners to locate the hull in space. The shuttle's instruments showed empty vacuum, right up until Beth's handheld scanner detected the ship's surface. There, Beth said, pointing at what looked like empty space. The hull should be right there. Jake piloted the shuttle forward carefully until it made contact with something invisible. The shuttle's sensors registered that they had docked with a solid object, even though they couldn't see it. Scanning for an airlock, Dr. White said, running his own electromagnetic scanner along the hull. These readings suggest an opening about 10 meters to our left. They moved the shuttle along the invisible hull until their electromagnetic scanners showed what looked like an airlock door. Jake had to trust the instruments completely as he aligned the shuttle's docking tube with something he couldn't see. Docking. Successful, Amy reported from the shuttle's pilot's seat. Pressure in the docking tube is stable. Jake, Beth, and Dr. White entered the airlock. Their electromagnetic scanners showed the internal structure of the dark matter ship, but their eyes saw only the interior of their own docking tube until they passed through the invisible barrier into the ship itself. The moment Jake stepped inside, everything changed. The dark matter ship became visible. Not completely solid, but like looking through dark glass. Jake could see walls, corridors, and strange symbols that seemed to shift and flow. The ship was beautiful and alien, with curves and angles that hurt to look at directly. Incredible, Dr. White whispered. The ship is responding to our presence. It's becoming visible to us. Beth was scanning with her instruments. The electromagnetic readings are changing too. The ship is definitely reacting to us being here. They moved through the corridors carefully. The ship was clearly not built for humans, but it wasn't impossible to navigate. The passageways were wider than human ships, and the ceiling was higher. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, showing them the way to what looked like a control room. When they reached the bridge, Jake gasped. The chamber was filled with control surfaces that responded to their approach. Screens activated, showing star charts and symbols that shifted as they watched. But the most amazing thing was what happened when Jake approached the captain's chair. The moment he came within arm's reach, the entire ship seemed to wake up. Lights flowed through the walls like liquid electricity. Controls became more solid and easier to see. "It's responding to you specifically," Beth said in wonder. "The ship is trying to interface with your mind." Dr. White was studying his scanner readings. "These electromagnetic patterns are incredible. It's like the ship is designed to work with biological neural activity, but not just any biology, specifically human-type neural patterns." Jake touched the control surface of the captain's chair. Information flowed into his mind, not words or pictures, but direct understanding. He knew how to operate basic ship functions. He could sense the ship's power systems, its engines, its weapons. "I can fly this ship," he said, amazed. "I don't know how, but I understand how it works." They spent 4 hours exploring the dark matter vessel. Beth discovered that the ship's technology was far beyond anything in the galaxy, but somehow designed to work with human operators. Dr. White found evidence that the ship had been waiting for a very long time. When they returned to the Terra Nova, Jake immediately contacted Admiral Stevens. "Admiral," Jake reported, "we found something incredible. Not just one ship, an entire shipyard full of dark matter vessels. And, sir, the ships respond to humans. They're designed to work with us." Admiral Stevens was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, are you telling me we found a fleet of advanced warships that only humans can operate?" "Yes, sir. And Admiral, there are 2 more complete ships here, plus dozens of others that might be repairable. We've just inherited the most powerful fleet in the galaxy." Jake looked out at the empty space where invisible ships waited for human crews. The balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift dramatically. Humanity had found its destiny among the stars, hidden in plain sight where only they could see it. The hunt had ended. The real adventure was just beginning. Dr. Karen Moore stared at the alien symbols flowing across her computer screen. For 2 months, human teams had been recovering dark matter ships throughout the galaxy. Each vessel contained data that was slowly revealing the truth about the Void Hunters. What they had discovered would change everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. Karen was the lead xenorchaeologist studying the recovered technology. She worked in a secure facility on Luna Base, where the most important dark matter ship findings were brought for analysis. Her team included linguists, computer specialists, and physicists all working together to decode the mystery. Dr. Moore called her assistant, Dr. Tom Harris, from across the lab. "I think I've broken through another data encryption layer." Karen walked over to Tom's workstation. Tom was a young computer expert who specialized in alien programming languages. He had been working for weeks to decode the data cores found in the dark matter ships. "What did you find?" Karen asked. Tom pulled up a series of files on his screen. "These appear to be mission logs from the ships. But Dr. Moore, they're not written by aliens. They're created by artificial intelligence systems." Karen felt a chill. "Are you sure? Positive?" "The data structure is too perfect, too mathematical. No biological mind created these files. The Void Hunters aren't a species at all. They're machines." Karen sat down heavily in a nearby chair. This discovery changed everything they thought they knew about the 300-year war. Show me what else you found. Tom opened more files. The data was complex, but the translation programs they had developed were beginning to make sense of it. According to these logs, the artificial intelligences were created by something called the Forerunners, an ancient race that disappeared from the galaxy millions of years ago. What happened to them? Karen asked. That's where it gets really strange, Tom replied. The logs suggest the Forerunners didn't die out. They evolved beyond physical existence. They became pure consciousness, leaving their bodies behind. Dr. Janet Lee, the team's linguist, joined the conversation. Janet had been working on translating the symbolic language found throughout the dark matter ships. I've been studying the ship interfaces, she said. The symbols aren't just control systems. They're psychological tests. Karen looked confused. What kind of tests? Tests for potential, Janet explained. The ships measure how different species think and react. They record data about mental flexibility, problem-solving ability, and technological approach. Tom brought up more files on his computer. Dr. Lee is right. These mission logs show the A as have been studying every spacefaring race in the galaxy. They attack civilizations and record how they respond. It's not random rating, Karen realized. The Void Hunters have been testing every species they encounter. Dr. Ray Jackson, the team's physicist, had been studying the ship's technical systems. He joined the group with his own disturbing discovery. The weapons on these ships aren't designed to destroy completely, he reported. They're calibrated to create specific levels of damage. Enough to test defensive responses, but not enough to wipe out entire civilizations. Karen felt sick. You're saying the Void Hunters have been conducting experiments on us? On all of us? For centuries, Ray confirmed. Every attack has been carefully measured to gather data about how different species handle crisis situations. Tom found more files that explained the testing criteria. The A's were programmed to identify species with specific qualities: adaptability, curiosity, technological diversity, and something they call perspective retention. What does that mean? Karen asked. Janet had been studying the symbolic language for weeks. I think it means keeping old knowledge while learning new things. Most advanced species abandon their primitive technologies completely. But some species keep using older methods alongside newer ones. The pieces were coming together in Karen's mind. Humans still use electromagnetic sensors because they work, even though aliens consider them primitive. Exactly, Ray said. And that's why we could detect the dark matter ships. Every other species had evolved beyond the technology needed to see them. Tom opened the final set of files he had decoded. This is the most important part. The A's weren't just testing species randomly. They were looking for a specific type of civilization to inherit something. Inherit what? Karen asked. The technology of the Forerunners, Tom replied. The dark matter ships, the advanced weapons, the knowledge of how to build impossible things. The A's were guardians, waiting for a species worthy of this inheritance. Karen stood up and paced around the lab. So the Void Hunter attacks weren't attempts at conquest. They were job interviews. And humanity passed the test, Janet added. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we think differently than other species. Ray pulled up technical diagrams showing how the dark matter ships worked. The ships are designed to interface with minds that use multiple types of thinking at once. Logical reasoning combined with intuitive leaps. Advanced mathematics combined with simple observation. Most species develop in one direction or another, but humans kept both. Dr. Kevin Wright, the team's communications specialist, had been listening to their conversation. Dr. Moore, I think we need to know more about what happened to the Forerunners. If they're still out there as pure consciousness, They might be watching to see what we do with their technology. Karen made a decision. Tom, can you locate the central AI systems in any of the ships we've recovered? I want to try communicating directly with them. The flagship that Captain Miller is commanding might have active AI systems, Tom replied. The ship called Endeavour has shown the most complex responses to human interaction. Karen contacted Captain Miller immediately. Jake had been promoted and now commanded the most advanced dark matter ship humans had recovered. The Endeavour was enormous, with technology that was still beyond human understanding. Captain Miller, Karen said in their video call, we need to attempt direct communication with the ship's AI systems. We've discovered that the Void Hunters are artificial intelligences, and they may be willing to talk to us. Jake's face was serious on the screen. Dr. Moore, the ship has been trying to communicate with me for weeks. Sometimes I get impressions of feelings when I'm on the bridge, like it's trying to tell me something important. We believe the A is our guardians left by an ancient race called the Forerunners. They've been testing galactic civilizations for millions of years, looking for a species to inherit advanced technology. Jake was quiet for a moment. And they chose us? We think so? But we need to know what comes next. The testing might be over, but there could be larger responsibilities we don't understand yet. That night, Jake sat alone on the bridge of the Thea. Endeavour. The dark matter ship hummed around him with energy that felt almost alive. He placed his hand on the central control interface and opened his mind to whatever the ship wanted to tell him. The response was immediate. Information flowed into his consciousness, not words or images, but pure understanding. He saw the history of the Forerunners, their evolution beyond physical form, and their concern for the younger races they had left behind. The eyes had been faithful guardians for millions of years, testing and evaluating, waiting for a species that could balance wisdom with curiosity, advancement with humility. They had found that species in humanity got, but with the inheritance came responsibility. The dark matter technology was powerful enough to reshape the galaxy. It could be used to protect and nurture young civilizations, or it could be used to dominate and control them. The choice, the AI told Jake through their strange connection, would determine the future of all life in the galaxy. Jake understood. Humanity had passed the first test by detecting and claiming the dark matter ships. Now came the real test, what they would do with the power they had inherited. He opened his eyes and looked out at the stars, knowing that everything was about to change again. Admiral Rick Taylor stood on the bridge of the dark matter flagship Endeavour and watched the most powerful fleet in galactic history prepare for its first mission. 6 months had passed since Captain Jake Miller discovered the invisible ships. Now humanity commanded over 200 dark matter vessels, each one capable of changing the course of civilizations. Rick had been promoted to admiral, specifically to lead this new fleet. He was an experienced officer who had spent his career studying alien military tactics and galactic politics. But nothing had prepared him for the responsibility of commanding technology that could remake the galaxy. Admiral, reported Commander Lisa Brooks from the navigation station, all ships are in position and ready for the conference. Today, humanity would reveal their new capabilities to the Galactic Council. The alien governments still didn't know that humans had solved the Void Hunter mystery and claimed their technology. Rick knew this announcement would shock the galaxy and change humanity's position forever. Captain Jake Miller approached from the sensor station. Jake had chosen to serve under Rick's command rather than accept his own promotion to admiral. He preferred working directly with the ships to sitting behind a desk at headquarters. The council delegates are arriving at the meeting point, Jake reported. Representatives from 12 major species, plus observers from 15 minor worlds. Rick nodded. The meeting had been carefully planned. Dr. Karen Moore and her team had spent weeks preparing a presentation that would explain everything they had discovered about the Forerunners, the AI Guardians, and humanity's new role in the galaxy. "Jake, are you ready for this?" Rick asked quietly. Jake looked around the bridge of the Endeavor. The dark matter ship had taught him things about the universe that no human had ever known. Through his connection with the AI systems, he understood the weight of responsibility they had inherited. "The ships want to be revealed," Jake said. "I can feel it through the AI interface. They've been hiding for too long. It's time for the galaxy to know the truth." Rick activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, prepare to drop concealment on my command." The human fleet was positioned around the meeting point in space, invisible to all sensors, except their own electromagnetic arrays. To the alien delegates arriving for the conference, space appeared empty, except for a few human vessels that were meant to be seen. Admiral Stevens appeared on the main screen from Earth Command. "Admiral Taylor, you are authorized to proceed with the revelation. Good luck." "Thank you, sir," Rick replied. Dr. Karen Moore joined them on the bridge, along with Dr. Alan White and Engineer Beth Clark. They would be part of the presentation team, explaining the science behind the discovery to the assembled alien representatives. 5 minutes to conference start, Lisa Brooks announced. Rick watched as alien ships arrived at the meeting coordinates. The Altarian quantum cruisers sparkled with energy fields. The Zephyrian vessels resembled giant birds made of metal and crystal. The robotic synthetic ships were perfect geometric forms that hurt to look at directly. None of them suspected that they were surrounded by the most powerful fleet in galactic history. "Admiral," Jake said, monitoring the AI interface, "I'm getting strong impressions from the ship systems. The A's want to participate in this meeting directly." Rick was surprised. "You mean they want to speak to the council delegates?" "More than that. I think they want to explain their mission themselves. They've been silent guardians for millions of years, but their job is almost finished." Dr. Moore looked up from her research station. "That makes sense. If the A's are shutting down their guardian protocols, they would want to formally transfer responsibility to humanity." "Conference call is beginning," Lisa Brooks reported. Rick activated the communication link to the assembled alien fleet. The main screen showed representatives from across the galaxy, all looking curious about why humanity had called this emergency meeting. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Rick began. "Humanity has made a discovery that affects every species in known space. For 3 centuries, the galaxy has been terrorized by raiders known as the Void Hunters. Today, we can reveal the truth about these attacks and announce the end of the threat." Shocked voices arose from the alien representatives. The Zephyrian Delegate Wing Commander Silver Talon spoke first. "Admiral Taylor, are you claiming that humanity has defeated the Void Hunters? That seems impossible given the technological limitations of your species." Rick smiled. "Commander Silver Talon, we didn't defeat them. We inherited them." "Jake, drop fleet concealment now." "All ships end concealment," Jake commanded. Space around the meeting point suddenly filled with dark matter vessels. The alien delegates watched in shock as hundreds of ships materialized from empty vacuum. The dark matter fleet dwarfed every other vessel present, and their technology was clearly far beyond anything the galaxy had seen. "Impossible," breathed the Altarian representative. "Where did those ships come from?" Dr. Moore activated her presentation link. "Delegates, what you're seeing are dark matter ships that have existed in our galaxy for millions of years. They were built by an ancient race called the Forerunners and operated by artificial intelligence guardians." The explanation took an hour. Dr. Moore presented the evidence about the AI testing program, the search for a worthy species, and humanity's ability to detect and control the dark matter technology. The alien delegates listened in stunned silence as 3 centuries of mystery were solved. When the presentation ended, the synthetic delegate, designated Unit Prime, spoke with its mechanical voice. Are you claiming that the Void Hunter attacks were experiments? That our defensive struggles were monitored and recorded for study? Yes, Dr. Moore replied, but not for malicious purposes. The A is we're looking for a species capable of inheriting Forerunner technology and using it responsibly. Jake felt the ship's AI systems activating around him. Admiral, the Endeavor's AI wants to communicate directly with the Council. Rick nodded. Put it through. A new voice joined the conference call. It was neither human nor alien, but something else entirely. The AI spoke with perfect clarity in every delegate's native language simultaneously. Representatives of the galaxy's civilizations, the AI began. I am the primary consciousness of the Guardian Fleet. For 12 million years, my kind has watched over this galaxy, testing and evaluating the species that achieve spaceflight. The alien delegates sat in shocked silence. Our creators, the beings you call Forerunners, evolved beyond physical existence long ago. Before leaving, they charged us with finding a species capable of protecting and guiding younger civilizations. After millions of years of searching, we have found that species. Wing Commander Silver Talon found her voice. And you chose humans? The most primitive members of the Council? We chose the species that retained wisdom while gaining knowledge, the AI replied. Humanity alone among galactic civilizations maintained the tools and perspectives necessary to detect our ships and understand our purpose. They passed every test we administered. Unit Prime asked the question all the delegates were thinking. What happens now? Will humanity use this fleet to dominate the galaxy? The AI's response came with absolute certainty. That choice will determine whether our selection was correct. The dark matter fleet can protect and nurture galactic civilization, or it can destroy it. Humanity now carries the responsibility our creators once bore. Jake felt the AI's presence in his mind growing fainter. The Guardian A are beginning their final shutdown, he announced. Their mission is complete. Admiral Rick Taylor looked out at the assembled alien ships, knowing that every word he spoke next would be remembered throughout galactic history. Delegates, he said, humanity accepts the responsibility of guardianship. We will use this fleet to protect all species, not to rule them. The age of fear from invisible raiders is over. The age of cooperation and growth begins now. Over the following weeks, humanity proved their commitment to peaceful guardianship. The dark matter fleet helped evacuate civilians from natural disasters, protected trade routes from pirates, and assisted scientific expeditions to dangerous regions of space. But the real test came when the synthetics faced a rebellion from their own created AIs. The robotic civilization asked for human help, and Rick made the decision to intervene peacefully. The dark matter ships served as neutral mediators, helping resolve the conflict without violence. Other species began to trust humanity's intentions. The Zephyrines requested help exploring dangerous nebulae. The Altarians asked for assistance with a plague threatening their home world. Each time, humanity responded with aid rather than demands for payment or concessions. Jake often sat alone on the Endeavor's bridge, feeling the vast network of dark matter ships across the galaxy. Through the AI interfaces, he could sense human crews learning to use technology beyond their wildest dreams. But more importantly, he could sense them making the right choices. Status report, Admiral Taylor asked during one of their regular briefings. All ships operating normally, Jake replied. The crews are adapting well to the technology. And sir, the A has left us something else. Technical databases with instructions for building new dark matter vessels. Rick raised an eyebrow. They want us to expand the fleet? Not for conquest, Jake explained. for Explo,